Hello. I was thinking this week, I wanted to share an illustration. Those of you who have parented, and many of you who know those who've parented, will recognize the way a young baby will switch its night and its day. It'll flop them. So the baby wants to be awake all night, but it wants to sleep through the day. It's a hard thing. We had four children, all of them did it, and it's painful to the parents for the sleep that's lost. And they do it for a natural reason. When they're in utero and they're in the womb, they're being kind of cradled along in the mother as the day goes along. But when the mother lays down to go to sleep at night and the stillness comes, the baby wakes up because it's no longer being rocked. And so as it's born, it falls back into this pattern, and you have to go about those practices of helping the baby learn night and day again so that you can sleep and find rest. I use that as an example of the way our spiritual eyes flop night and day, real from unreal. Um, this happens constantly to us. It's all a human response, and especially in a pandemic. We live isolated. We live in circumstances that flop the night and the day very quickly. We have anxiety about work, about too much work, it's too busy, or that it's not present, there's no income. We have anxiety about busy homes. They're too loud, you can't get things done, or they're lonely and they're quiet. There's worries about health, there's worries about family, there's worries about the future. And these things become the reality. They press in on us. And the spiritual sense, those rhythms of God and his kingdom and the majesty of Christ and eternity recede. They go away. We flop, and those things are no longer real to us. What's real is the present anxiety of the moment. And I'm inviting us into a time. I want to encourage you to flop your night and your day. How? There's many Psalms that do this. Psalm 73 is a famous one, a well-known one. The psalmist is wrestling with the way night and day have been flopped. The righteous are suffering while the wicked are flourishing. And he doesn't understand this. And he says, I thought about it, and it was to me a wearisome task until I came into your sanctuary. It's in the sanctuary. It's in the presence of God with his people that flops and reality becomes true to me again. Psalm 46, that famous psalm, there's wars and tumults and waters crashing and mountains falling. But there is a river that makes glad the city of God. He is in the midst of her. In the presence of God, in the presence of his people and their gathering, we find a place to flop night and day, even if it's for a moment. And so I'm using this week to invite you back into rhythms of prayer every day. We have four of them during the week, 2 noon, 2 morning prayers, and we hope to add a fifth on probably Fridays for children, a time to sing, a time to pray, to be present with the Lord in a way that's not just for adults. We have Sunday prayer as well. I encourage you all to make use of that. There's some kind of varying attendance, and make use of that time. See our faces. You can be muted and just worship and flip your night and your day. And use the morning and noon times. It may not be possible for you. I think it usually is if we sacrifice. But you may find someone you can pray with too, once a day, every other day. I'm sending links to some wonderful kind of prayer resources that you could use for prayer. To do that practice of reminding ourselves of what is real, of God and his presence and his sovereignty and his love. God bless you. I pray for you daily. Amen.